Hey, good morning, Shasta College. I don't know what time it is in your area, but it's 5 a.m. where I am. This is what happens when you play guitar all night and read and can barely sleep. You start lecturing to you folks. How's everything going out there? Your first week? I know it's overwhelming. It's going to get easier. Please look at Canvas, take the tutorial, learn where to click everything on. Everything is there. This is the virtual reality we live in. And by the way, we're not alone. Yes, I know you're feeling alone, cut off, but everybody's going through the same thing. Everybody's got the same questions. Even I have them. And I've taught this class 50 times. Um, it's always a new deal, especially when we're out in the classroom. So I can't see the pain in your face. Um, but you know how to get a hold of me. You can email me, rexhaas at yahoo.com with any problems you might have. And or text me at 530-941-9661. Just tell me, make sure you tell me the class you're in because I got several classes. Thank you. And your name, by the way, don't forget that. All right. I hope you're working on getting the textbook. Read that first chapter. Ow. Uh, the textbook, do you need it to pass the class? No. I'm going to fulfill with lectures and with documentaries, but what it does is it gives you a context. I can only cover so much. The book covers the rest. And so the readings were going to open up a whole different world that I can open up myself. I'm doing the best I can, but I can't read the book to you. And we're talking about 130 years of cinema here, and I'm going to cover it as best I can in 16 weeks without boring the heck out of you. Um, so get the book. I see it on Amazon for $34. Don't get the expensive one. The bookstore should have it. If it doesn't, I've called them several times. You can rent it. Also, maybe you could get it on e copy or Kindle. It's out there. I try to keep the cost down for you. Anyway, not to go too far on that. I want to talk about silent films and why they matter. And you've probably avoided them all your life. Maybe you've never seen even one snippet of a silent film. Hope you're looking at those little documentaries I've been showing you and modules. I guess it shows you some of it. There's a lot. Why silent? Well, they didn't have the technology for sound recording. They had sound. You could record sound, but not on film. They didn't know how to match the film with the soundtrack. And so 1895 or so when film started becoming a real thing. So in about 1927, all the films were silent. No spoken dialogue. They weren't silent though. A lot of them had loose soundtracks that was shipped along to the movie theater and played separately. And that would be for sound effects, like the great movie, great flawed racist film, Birth of a Nation. Takes place in the Civil War, and cannons are going off. Music is stirring, so it's not silent. Um, just no spoken dialogue. People move their mouths, and then they have subtitles. That's how you read them. They called them title cards, and we were fine with it. So when you're watching a silent film, the key to it is take all your preconceived notions of it. It's in black and white. I know color was around. It was so expensive, and they had to have so much light that it was impossible to use. The, the films were so slow, if you know anything about photography, that they had to flood every scene with mega white lights, and it was not a, a cheap endeavor. But there was color films in the silence. They just never could produce them because they could not afford it. But later on, color became obviously the norm, but not yet. So it's black and white, glorious black and white. and they're not speaking, but they are speaking. You just have to read the subtitles. So, and when you're looking at those films, you'll notice that the acting seems rather broad. Everybody's gesturing, everybody's pantomiming. That's what they're doing because there's no spoken dialogue. They're getting their message across through moving a lot, hand gestures, exaggerated expressions. And those early films, there's no such thing of it as a close up. That became a thing later. Once we got the camera close to the human face and you can see what's going on in the eyes, then acting became subtler. But those early films, it's broad. It is. When they're mad, they shake their fist. When they're sad, when they're upset or something, they're wringing their hands. That's all pantomiming. That's normal. That's not bad acting. That's the acting of the day. Silent films are screaming to be heard. They scream in visuals. They don't lack in visuals. They're cutting edge visuals for the times. They couldn't move the camera much. They can't do a lot, but they did what they could with what they had. And a lot of the early comedians like Charlie Chaplin and Charles Lloyd and Buster Keaton and others did their own stunts. They did these wild, crazy physical stunts. Do they, when you see these things, and if you look at the film clips I showed you, they look dangerous as hell? They were. They were dangerous. A lot of these guys were horribly injured. Most of them eventually in their careers. It took a lot of courage, a lot of planning, a lot of ingenuity, and a lot of creativity to pull those stunts off. There was no CGI in those days, no trick way to do it on a computer. It was all done in real time with real people, real cameras, real cars, real trains, the whole 9 yards. So, why do silent films matter? Because that's what started the whole business. Films today would be nothing without silent films. Nothing. They're still copying. We're still using the same visuals, the same setups to 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 depict a story that we've all seen before hundreds of times. Um, so your first paper is going to be on a silent film, and I usually assign an easy one. I'm going to assign a hard one because you guys are special. You're going to watch Metropolis, Fritz Lang, German filmmaker who had to escape Hitler because he was a Jew, but he made this groundbreaking film, Metropolis. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe not. Start watching it now. It's on YouTube. You're going to write your paper on it, and you're going to have to do a deep dive on watching the entire thing. I'm sorry. That's how it's a feature length film. It's 80 minutes, whatever it is. It's got different soundtracks. I don't care what soundtrack. Rock and roll musicians have made soundtracks. Pink Floyd did a whole soundtrack to this movie. Uh, there's the original soundtracks. There's the rock and roll soundtracks. It all helps if that's what you need. Use it. I'll post all this soon. Not yet. Um, you don't have to go find it yourself unless you want it. It's called Metropolis. It's a sci-fi film made in about 1926 or so, and it was a revolution. They built their own little cities. They had what looked like flying cars. They had robots. I'll talk about in more detail when I sign the paper, which I'll probably sign on Friday. That's tomorrow. Um, without Metropolis, there'd be no Terminator, the movie. Read the interviews of James Cameron. He copied a lot of the visuals. He copied the robot. You know, the Arnold Schwarzenegger when he's that person, and then the skin starts falling off him, and he's got the robotic skeletal. Well, that started in this film. A mad scientist makes a life size, lifelike robot to start ruling the world. Terminator, folks, 1926. Way ahead of its time. Complicated story about the class struggle. The ruling class living in luxury on top, and the workers living in poverty and essentially hell below. If you know anything about Dante's Inferno, the layers of hell, this is a metaphor on that. The farther up you are, the more closer to heaven you are. The lower you are, the closer to hell you are. So the film works on so many brilliant levels, and it busted out into the universe. And the movies have never been the same. People were unaware that movies could do this thing. So Metropolis, I'll post it. When you look at these for essays, go deep, take notes. Don't just try to watch it without taking notes. And I'm going to talk about this more in detail when I assign the essay. But look at the themes. What's a theme? Well, love, tragedy, death, suicide, war. There's a ton of themes. How to identify them? That becomes the challenge. People's motivations, the acting, their motivations, the script's motivations. What's the script trying to say? What is the cinematography? That's the photography, folks. What's it trying to tell you? How's it make you feel? What is the story? What You're not going to tell the plot in your essay. I don't care about that. I know what the plot is. You're going to describe why it matters. We'll talk more about the essay later. I know this is a period of adjustment for everybody. So maybe it's your first college course. Like I say, you're not here alone. I know it feels like you are, but you aren't. Here I am talking in my room at 5 a.m. I have my guitars and my cats over there, but I'm not alone. You guys are with me. So, let me look what else here real quick, and I'll just shut up. This virtual classroom is fluid. There's no set times. There's going to be dates on the assignments and discussions. Yes, that's all in announcements. And do follow those. Do follow the deadlines, because once the assignment closes, it's over. Unless you have a great excuse. If you're late, you lose on all of it. Hope you guys are participating in the discussion about your cinema passions, your cinema life. If you have one, if you had one, if you want one, do share it with us in the discussion. What else do I got here? I'll try to keep this one short, but silent films are the holy truth. We don't need all people yakking. That's television. That's all they do is yak in television. Silence had to be more creative and tell it with a camera. It is called a movie, by the way. It's not called a stage play. And I love theater. I write plays. But it's not a stage play. It's a movie. People are moving. Camera, people, backgrounds, cars, trains, boats. I'll be giving you some samples of awesome silent films. Hopefully you've watched some of those documentaries, got a little touch of it. That's it. It's Thursday, 5 a.m. Time to get to work. See you next time when the story film continues.